This needs to be told to the world, that a girl who went through emotional pain and was not in school most of the year, the principal, who was TP trained, means that she came to a training here, the 2-day trainings that I have from Mechanchen, understood and graduated her without tests. And other people will say, what do you mean? But how can I can't. How many hundreds of kids can't graduate? You didn't show up. She wasn't. But, what if a kid had cancer? You're going to say, oh, you didn't take tests. You had chemo and you didn't show up. Anybody? What would you call such a principal? A Russia. What the world has to realize is that emotional, psychological, psychiatric illness is just as crippling as physical illness. It's not the principal's fault who didn't know that, because 30 years ago, this didn't exist. Nobody missed school because of emotional problems. Well, maybe there were exceptions, but not hundreds. But we're living in a dar where this happens every day, where kids are having breakdowns. But you know why it's the principal's fault? If they don't go for a training, and they don't want to hear, and they don't want to learn. I got to tell you, I do these trainings here for parents, and I invite in principals. And there are some yeshivas and systems that are sending me people all the time. And I don't charge, I don't benefit from this. But they tell me that the whole way that they deal with their talmidim, they end up having better success rates. They do better. They save the lives of the kids, and it's fun. It's better. They understand the kids better. I'm not saying you should have a hefker yeshiva and let everything. No, adarabah. They're more controlled. When you have the right tools, they behave better. They feel more wanted, so they behave better. They feel more understood, so they come and they do the best that they can. And it's some people that don't want to hear. If you don't want to learn, it's terrible. I had here in training a Chassidish guy. Comes in, a young Chassidish guy. I said, what are you doing here? He said he's a manayil in Pupa. You know, Pupa has let's say 5, 6, 7 first, second, third grades, like 1,000. It's like a whole school, just a few grades. He's the manayil of first, second, and third. I said, why are you coming to this training? This training is about trauma. This training is about how to win kids back. You know, he said to me, he goes, we need to know everything. Wow. New educators. We need to know. We will search and find all information. We need to know everything. And he tells me, sometimes I see the kid's not behaving, and I'm able to realize that he's not a mechutzav. It's not chutzpah. If you have the wrong diagnosis, you're going to have the wrong punishment. Chutzpah is one treatment, but a kid who's hurting because his parents are fighting, because there's no food at home, because he has a brother or a sister blasting music at night, whatever it is. Emotional problems, psychiatric, we have a lot of problems that didn't exist 30 years ago. We don't know why, but we do. So if you misdiagnose it, you just make the problem worse. And then you create another problem. The kid feels stabbed, my teacher doesn't like me, my Rebbe doesn't like me, and Nebuch, it's not his fault. Let me tell you a quick story, true story. All my stories are true. My son started developing a problem where he couldn't get up in the morning. And we thought it was, we didn't know what it was. He was like very lethargic. And for like 2-3 weeks, he couldn't concentrate in school. A little kid, 4th grade, 5th grade. And a few weeks went by where he just wasn't, putting his finger on the place, and he wasn't behaving. And we don't know what's happening to him. We don't know what's happening. It could be so many things, right? It could be, I don't want to start listing diseases, but it's scary. Scary. And after about 3 weeks, he used to go ahead always and draw in the basement. And after about 3 weeks, we saw mold on the that we were able to see. The mold was going through, it was sheetrock, then there was a pipe, and then the other side, right, but nobody looked. The mold was coming from the other side. So we didn't see it until it broke through to the second layer of sheetrock, right? So we didn't see it for 3 weeks. He's highly allergic to mold. Now, if a kid is like that, and it's mamish not his fault, like, what do you want? And a Rebbe yells at him, you're killing him. You're misdiagnosing him. Now, some Rebbeim say, but how are we supposed to know? So I feel bad for you. But the fact is, if you get it wrong, you're killing a kid. And there are ways of knowing. There are ways of knowing. There's There's people who can see, and there's people who have X-ray vision, nefesh people who know. You got to know the kid. You got to know the kid. Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky tells a story that. So I'm sure he forgave him, but he so-called never forgave a Rebbe that he had, because he got in trouble for something, and he told the Rebbe, or the Rosh Yeshiva, he said, I didn't do it. And he said, you're a liar, and he punished him. Like 70 years later, it's brought down in a book. He said, I can't forgive him. He goes, not because he called me a liar, he should have known me. You have a kid in your class, or you have a kid, you should know these are good kids. You see all of a sudden, something's going on. All of a sudden, it's the easiest thing to say, chutzpah, bad midos. Come on, we have to grow up, and we have to have tools. I'll tell you one more story. There's a kid who had a big problem. Cutest kid in the world, big problem, super spaced out in his own world. He could be going like this, and or watching something, and he doesn't know what's going on around him. He doesn't hear. He doesn't see. Is that an avera in the Torah? No. Is that a tremendous sin? No. Spaced cadet, spaced out. He could be in his mind, composing songs, or making who knows, movies are going on, but he's not bad. Okay. The father told the Rebbe in the beginning of the year, listen, pre-1A Rebbe, he said to him, listen, the kid is. When he gets into his own world, he doesn't chap. He doesn't realize what, He told that to the Rebbe. Father told me, after Hanukkah PTA, which is a few months into it, the Rebbe told the father by that PTA, he said, by the way, I realized that what you told me in the beginning of the year, I thought you're just another father. You're telling me Bubba Mises. So I would snap at him, and I would call his name, and I would tell him, come on, and he did all this kind of chinuch. He said, but now, after Hanukkah, I want to tell you, you're right. What happened? He said, we had drawing time, art time. What do they call it? Art? I don't think it's called. Playtime, crayon time. What? No, just like where everybody take out your stuff and drawing, arts and crafts, something like that. Anyway, everybody was drawing, right? And I said, okay, everybody put away your crayons. And this mechutzif, this disgusting Yamach Shemai kid ignores me. Like to the Rebbe, it was like he stuck up his middle finger. He was so offended. And he's drawing. Okay, everybody put away your crayons. Everybody put it on your Kid doesn't budge. I was getting so angry at him. Okay, everybody else in the class put away their crayons, except for this kid. Okay, everybody put away your loose leaf, your drawing stuff. Everybody gets up. Everybody's up. You know how much noise there is? 30 kids getting up. Everybody get your chumash. Everybody's getting their chumash. Little kids, is this mine? Is this yours? A whole tumult. And your kid is ignoring me and sitting there, and with anger, sitting there drawing like he doesn't care about anything in the world. Doesn't listen, doesn't acknowledge authority, doesn't care about anything. So everybody sit down and open up your chamashim. 29 kids, right? Everybody does it. Everybody put your finger on the place. Maybe it was first grade. And you're a mechutzef kid sitting there like he is owning the world. Mr. I'm in charge. You're not going to tell me what to do. And he's sitting there drawing crayons. So I finally went over to him and I yanked that crayon out of him. He goes, and your son went, he was so scared. He says, then I realized he had no idea what was going on. He didn't hear any of it. He's not the Mr. Know-It-All who thinks he's king of the universe and who's ignoring me and lack of authority. He was in his own world. Hashem made him that way. He really didn't hear. I traumatized him because I saw him shaking. Can you imagine going over to a kid during playtime, during crane time, and yanking it out of him? You can't do that. He thought it was the middle of it. He didn't realize. He didn't hear anything. All the Rebbe had to do was say, Shefala, take it out nicely. Playtime is over. Let him land from outer space. This Rebbe didn't trust the father the whole year, snapping at the kid and building a whole rap sheet against the kid. Bad midos. He's insubordinate. He doesn't care about anybody else. He's ignoring. He was writing all the stuff down until he realized kid just spaced out. The kid's just in his own world. He has a creative talent. Kid today is Baruch Hashem, a masmid atzum. He's so creative. He's going to be a mechaber svarim. He's going to change the world. So we have to be so careful to train and to be. Rav Steinman, they asked Rav Steinman, what if you don't know if a child is acting bad because of bad midos or chayla nefesh, something's wrong with him. Something's bothering him in his system. What should you do? Rav Steinman said clear that you have a chiyuv to treat for chayla nefesh, as if he's sick. If you don't know if someone is healthy or sick, you treat for sick. And today sick doesn't mean sick in the hospital and sick, something's bothering his nefesh, that he can't behave as he's supposed to behave. And a lot of Rebbeim say, you're taking away all my tools. Not at all. First of all, we're saving your life as a Rebbe because you're not going to murder anybody. And second of all, when you mistreat the kids by misdiagnosing them, they get worse. Then they become chutzpah and they have rage and anger. But if you understand them and if you're not sure, you speak to them and you develop a relationship, and then you could actually find out what's wrong with him. When you're very close to a kid, you can go ahead and know he'll eventually open up about what his problem is, but you have to be very, very nice. My son's Rosh Hashiva, Zayin Gesund, comes to the Kesher Nafshi Shabbatons, Reb Shulman Leich Landau Shlita. He raised my kids. He raised my family. Ask my kids, what happened if you got thrown out of class and you got sent to the principal's office? That's usually terrifying, right? He would give him a glet. Oh, so they're his best friends. He's like, oh, it's great to see you. What happened? Okay, come sit over here, sit at my desk, give him a candy, something. He would always tell them, go to Sweet Choice, which was a half a block away from the yeshiva. Go buy me a sandwich and a thing and get yourself an ice cream. That's chinuch. They went back into the classroom, motivated to do better. And they apologized, and that's how, that was his chinuch, giving a glet. And why are we hitting and screaming and yelling? I want to tell you a very sad story. It's a true story. All my stories are true. I went to a meeting in a yeshiva. I'll never forget this. I went to a meeting in a yeshiva, and the meeting was in the principal's office. Okay? And so it was very small. So he had a desk, and I sat right next to the desk, and there was a door right here. And across were the two chairs of the parents, and there was an assistant, whatever, and we were having a meeting. Okay? They came to me for help about a whole long story. It doesn't matter. Bottom line is, I was there. The manahel had to go out. So when the manahel went out, I was like by the door. All of a sudden I hear this. Like really soft. So I open the door, because I was right there, and I see this little cute, yummy kid, 7 years old, maybe, right? Shaking, terrified. Mama's shaking. He's stuck because to him it's a Holocaust. He has to go to school. He did something wrong or perceived or whatever, and he's shaking and he has a note, right? And I open up and I said, he's not here. I said, what happened? Shaking. Like, what are you putting your kid on medication for? That's not chinuch. Making kids go out of their mind of fear. It's. They say, well, I had no choice. He didn't listen. There's so many other options. Mamish felt so bad. I felt so bad, and I did what I was not supposed to do. I said, okay, I'm in charge now. Can I see the note? I read the note, and it said, whatever his name was, Nachum, right? Nachum will never be able to be in my classroom again. Nachum must go home immediately. There is no place in my classroom. But you can't hear it, right?
I was that kid.
You were that kid. You're Nachum? No wonder he turned out to be a woman. These days, you got to be careful. ADD. But he, through this teacher, made this little innocent kid into mamish, like the most horrible human being. There's no place for him. He will not. I cannot. You cannot. I'm looking at this. And I'm like, what do you think is going to happen to this kid? And I'm looking at a little pitsy, nice kid. I really, honestly, I wanted to just take him home. But I think it's called kidnapping. I wanted to save him. Save him. And it's like, why? Of course that kid's going to go off the derech. He's not against Yiddish guy. He's going to want to kill himself. He's not going to be able to be cut. Why are you shaking? Once a kid is shaking in their nefesh, Adults, we can't shake. We can't. If people yell at us, someone treats you like that, you leave, right? Or you go on Klonopin, and then you wonder why the kid. But this kid's, I can't even go on weed. Kid's 7 years old, 8 years old. Shaken baby syndrome. Look it up. Kids die from it. The mothers are crazy from the kids crying, so they shake them, right? That's not helpful. I understand you why you want to do it. I would just put on Bose noise cancellation headphones or turn on the music loud so I don't have to. It's hard hearing a baby, again and again screaming. I hear, but shake them to the point that their brains are messed up for life, and then it snaps their neck and they die. Rahman al-Islan. We can't shake children. Can't shake. If talking nice doesn't work, you can't go to shaking their nefesh. It's a big mistake. Shmuel Kamenetsky Shlita, my Rosh Hashiva. I don't know if he's happy about it, but I could say I'm very proud that he's my Rosh Hashiva Shlita, who's been guiding me since before I opened Home Sweet Home. He said, and I have a video of the guy telling it. He's told it to Chaim Wolf. I said, I want it on video. He said, there's nothing that a hug can't do. How does this go? There's nothing that a hug can't accomplish that a patch could accomplish. No, there's nothing that a patch can accomplish that a hug cannot accomplish. Nothing. And he said, and you look at the other video, I don't want to ruin the whole video. Even if your kid does very, very bad, tell him, you give him a hug, I love you, I don't like when you do that. You could say, that's chinuch, tell him, this is not the way we behave. But there's nothing that we can't do nicely, especially in our day and age. And I'm not saying this. Ziknei Hadar said, Rabbi Yashiv said right there on the wall, Yimin mekarevis, no more small daicha. As by Rabbi Gershon Edelstein Shlita or Shiva Panavish, Zakein Hadar, connection to the Chazon Ish. Why can't we listen to him? You heard what he said, right? I didn't understand what it was. You have to interpret it. Heint en nidda kan smeel degen. That's what he said.
Wer der Koach machlit sein zu ein Kind, zu darf ein Stückel smeel degen mit den Kiruv oder mit den Chinuch oder etwas mehr mit den Kiruv.
Smeel degen, hij niet zeggen smeel degen.
Hij is toch heint klaar.
I feel of normale kinderen.
Dat is normale kinderen. Smeel degen, het versteht, je versteht. Je wird das verstehen. Je versteht dat als die Kinder versteht. We versteht het niet.
What's the getäuscht in that from the Aladairis?
Ja, je don't want it. You don't say it.
There's no small daicha. How do you rip it up? Gemara says, Yimim mekaret loylam tei, Yimim mekarev small daicha. He said, no. Even a regular kid. Look at the video. I say, even a regular kids? And then he's like, it's like, well, it used to be the opposite. You have to do small daicha. Even on a sick kid, well, maybe not, right? The maybe not was on the other way. Now I'm like, even on a regular kid, and he's like, look at the video. He's like, if you'll understand the purpose that and it'll accomplish it, maybe. You need a tour to do smile daicha on a healthy kid. He's talking about and I asked him what changed, and he said it's Yadua. Every generation is different. It's Yadua. So let's do what we need to do. And let's beg the people who are around our children. Right? Let's beg the people that are in their lives to do what they need to do.